Slightly larger than Montana, the Republic of Zimbabwe is wedged between the countries of Zambia and South Africa. It is landlocked with a tropical climate and annual rainy seasons, but despite the rainy season, Zimbabwe suffers through recurring droughts, and storms and floods are rare. Zimbabwe is covered mostly in plateaus, with roughly only 8% of its land arable. Nevertheless, Zimbabwe, along with Zambia, is home to the world's largest curtain of falling water, Victoria Falls, which flows from the Zambezi River. The capital of Zimbabwe is located at Harare, and while English is the official language, Shona and Sembeli are also spoken. The country currently boasts a population around 11 million and is ranked 85 in the world for its population growth rate. However, Zimbabwe suffers from a horrendous food crisis. It has become so bad that in May of 2009, the UN considered the food crisis in Zimbabwe as one of their top priorities for their Commission on Sustainable Development. Although the country technically has a democratic government, the President Robert Mugabe has been accused of running a strict dictatorship after the country gained its independence in 1980. Many complications have arisen because of this dictatorship. During land reforms, the government seized commercial lands and chaotically redistributed them, causing a shortage in basic food commodities.
This is my last chicken. I have 8 people to feed. The maize I will buy from selling this chicken is only enough for 1 meal for all of us.
President Mugabe has been accused of ignoring the fact that citizens were starving. Through political corruption, Mugabe is now able to amend the constitution of Zimbabwe at will. In 2007, Mugabe instituted price controls on all basic commodities, causing panic buying and leaving store shelves empty for months. Now, 7 million people are in danger of starvation. That is over 50% of the population.
There is no money for food. Where do I find it? I don't work. We are struggling, my grandchildren and I.
While most major causes of the food crisis in Zimbabwe were products of a corrupt government, other disparities added to the effect. Weather has been a major factor. There is either too little or too much rain in some areas. Along with this, the AIDS epidemic has devastated the workforce. Economic downfall, with inflation of at least 230 million% a year, has put the seeds and fertilizer out of reach for many Zimbabweans. The government fights to boost grain imports to head off mass starvation, but this effort is maimed by limited foreign currency. Thus, the government is blamed by many people because of their acts in delaying grain deliveries through grain marketing board depots. Another area of blame comes from Harare's challenge to decades of imperialistic exploitation. Harare, headed by President Mugabe, abandoned the unworkable willing seller, willing buyer policy favored by its former colonial master, the UK, to pursue a land redistribution program to reverse the effect of imperialistic exploitation. This crippled the economy as many white farmers were forced to leave. This degradation of Zimbabwe's economy and rise in social vulnerability are cited as causal factors. The interplay between cause and effect within Zimbabwe's food crisis is complex and very much a concern for public health. AIDS is slowly corroding the socio-economic structure of Zimbabwe and producing a decline in agricultural productivity and an increase in orphans. The sick and orphan require nutrition, typically provided by surplus resources, however, they do not exist. The loss of productivity in agriculture affects not only Zimbabwe's local market, but also the strength of its economy. Clean water, a nutritional necessity for life, is limited, and sanitation has been degraded by Zimbabwe's economic strife. Because of the lack of good drinking water, malaria is also on the rise, exacerbated by the fact that most Zimbabweans are undernourished. From malnutrition and starvation to the devastation of HIV/AIDS epidemic to the increase in malaria, the crisis in Zimbabwe is in need of urgent action.
We actually face a catastrophic situation in terms of food. We believe that by January we need to feed over 5.5 million people, and that's almost 3/4 of the adult population. Our hospitals have just over the last 2-3 weeks have shut down because there are no doctors, there are no medicines in them. And 90% of the schools have just shut down because the teachers are not able to attend the schools. That is the extent of the humanitarian crisis we face. And it has deteriorated to alarming levels at the moment.
The international community must increase humanitarian aid to help prevent hunger and malnutrition. As a part of their aid, an increase in seed and fertilizer is badly needed. Assistant Director General Alexander Mueller of the UN recommends an increased investment into agriculture of Zimbabwe. Currently, the UN is working towards the establishment of a global food fund. Wealthy nations will pledge aid, and the fund will be used to avert food shortages. As previously noted, the UN considered the food crisis in Zimbabwe as one of their top priorities for their Commission on Sustainable Developments, which is very promising. The UN is focused on teaching sustainable agriculture practices to community farmers. The economic policies of the international community, as well as Zimbabwe's, need to be addressed, hopefully with the reversal of corrupted government officials and the revival of the private owners.
The decision here has been taken that land will be nationalized and that 99-year lease will be given to farmers. I don't have anything to say with that. That is a sovereign decision of Zimbabwe. But the title, the 99-year lease title, are not bankable as they are designed now, because they are made in such a way that the government can take the land anytime they want under any arbitrary decision. And this needs to change.
Less governmental spending should also help with the hyperinflation. The agricultural and commercial practices that contribute to the climate change and therefore impact drought-sensitive areas like Zimbabwe need to be curbed, if not eradicated. And the spread of HIV/AIDS must become controlled so that the people of Zimbabwe can return to agricultural productivity.